still with financial maths. What is the number? 114.
Yes.
So we are busy with financial maths, but now the previous lesson was about grade 10 work. Just normally, what is compound interest, what is simple interest, and there are two different formulas. But in compound interest, only in compound interest, not in simple interest, it can now happen that, at my example, that I'm going to tell you the whole story about Piet or Leclerc or whoever that invests or borrows money, something about money. There's a certain time limit and there's a certain interest rate. But then, interest rate has always been per annum, per year. That's the reason why your teachers always told you N was for years, and that's not completely true. It's true for grade 10 and 9. But in grade 11 and 12, you must read what they say. So the interest rate is given per annum because you never go into a bank and the bank manager tells you, we're going to give you 0.1% per month. They'll always say per annum. But then they will tell you how they're compounding it, how are they putting it together. And that's where the difference comes in. Up to now, it's always just been yearly, per year, yearly. But now I'm going to tell you how it is compounded. Now, according to the syllabus, this is basically what we can do. And actually, daily is not even part of the syllabus. It can be one of those higher level, more interesting feeling sums that you can be asked for a 1 or a 2 mark question, but not really syllabus. So let's go from the start. It's better for me to do it on the hand of an example. If I give you a 10% interest rate, whatever the sum is, how much money it is, I don't know. But there's an interest rate of 10% and the time limit is 5 years. But now the sum will say, how is it compounded? If it's compounded yearly, what was your I for this example? 10%, right? 10 over 100. Like I was teaching you, please from now on, write it as 0.10. 10 over 100 is perfect, but I'd like to brainwash you a little bit so that you're always going to do the same as me, because you'll see why I do it that way. 0.10, and N was? 5 years. Can I still give you a question where I say it's compounded yearly? Or just per annum, nothing about compounding, then it's yearly. It can still be. But now I'm going to change it into, what if they say that that 10% was compounded monthly? Then you've got to take that 10% that was there for the whole year and divide it into 12 months, so that each month gets the same share. So that'll be 0.10 divided by 12. But now, this is the reason why in that first example I said to you, this always goes hand in hand. The I and the N goes hand in hand. You cannot have I per month and that is still 5 years. It's also going to be in months. So now it's still 5 years. My example is about the 10% and the 5 years. Now it's compounded monthly, so I divide by 12 to get it to per month. So how many months is that going to be? What gives you 5? 5 times 12 gives you? 60. Now, you're going to get the idea. Oh, lekker. I'm always going to divide by 12, time by 12. In essence, it's true, but you're going to make mistakes in some circumstances, like in that first one I'm going to show you. If you always want to do that, I want you to think logically. So if I say 5 years, how many months? You're thinking, okay, every year has 12 months. Yeah, that's perfect. This one did work. That was 5 times 12. That was 60. But are you with me? Hand in hand. So the original one was per year, because we can also say per year or per annum. And then 5 years. Are you with me? It goes hand in hand. Let's do quarterly. Are we doing a sum now? No, I'm just trying to get you a summary of what's going to happen. Typically, and with this 10% of 5 years, just an example. If it's still 10%, but I tell you it's 10% per annum, but they are compounding it quarterly, then that 10% for the year is divided by 4, okay, because there are 4 quarters. And then that will be the interest rate per quarter. Now those are just my own abbreviations, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Then this has to be
Times by 4.
quarters, right? Don't get the idea that this is divide 4 times 4, because sometimes I'm going to give you the, not 5 years, I'm going to give you 18 months. Are you going to time 18 months also with 4? You're going to work out what 18 months is in quarters. That's why I don't want you to get that idea that it's always going to be divide by 12 times by 12. Divide by 4 times by 4. Depending on what the years or months or quarters were in. I could give it to you in quarters and want the how many half years there are. Are you with me? Alright, so how many quarters will there then be for 5 years? 20, because you are going to time by 4 in that case. Right, if we do it for, so this is going to be inside of our sums. We're going to use that I and that N. If it was biannually, what does that mean?
2 years.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Biannually. What is a binomial?
2
Two terms. Bi is always 2. A bicycle's got 2 wheels. Are you with me? Bi is 2. Are you with me? So if I say biannually, it means twice annually in a year. Twice in a year. So every 6 months. And now here's where kids get confused again. Because if I say, I'm going to give you the interest rate every 6 months, can I say those words instead of saying biannually? Yes. So I'm saying every 6 months. What do kids do? They divide by 6. I'm trying to show you all the pitfalls. Think about it. You're asking yourself biannually how many times in a year? So that 10% has to be divided by 2, because biannually means 2 times in a year, and then it's per half year. And then this has got to be the amount of half years. Per half year?
Half years.
Of the amount of half years. Biannually, it's not got a nice word that I can use there. So if it was 5 years, how many half years?
2.5.
5 years, how many half years?
10.
10.
Oh.
Every year has got 2 half years. Right? You divided it by 2
Yeah.
to get to 2.5. So divide by 2 times, but man, it works again. Yes, but remember I said to you, there are pitfalls. Make sure you think logically. This amount of time, how many quarters, how many half years, how many whatever they're asking you. Okay, last thing, which is not really syllabus. If I ask it for daily, then you've got to take that 0.10 and divide it by. Okay, and who's got a problem with, what's critical yard?
Leap year.
Leap year. Don't have a problem with leap year. Okay, we're teaching you the basics. We are not, luckily, tax consultants, because if you, like my son, is a tax consultant, you work it out to the second that people owe you money. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
We are not there. Okay, so if we have to say how many days in a year, we're going to say 365. We're not going to admit that. Because how many leap years will there be in 5 years? At least 1. I like that answer. But there might be 2. It might be the first year and the 5th year. Are you with me? Let's not get technical. They do that in actual tax consulting. They actually look at the time frame and see which ones were the extra day, month, years, and whatever. And are you with me? Exactly. They ask for the money. And this will then be per day, right? It's not going to be a lot because it's 10% for the whole year. So it's going to be 0.0, I don't know what, in a day. And then this is going to be the amount of
Days.
days. So what do we do?
Times by
5 times 365. Give me an answer, please.
1225.
1225.
1825.
Right, so the amount of days, but they go hand in hand. Let's look at an example, then we can get there. So, whatever my question is, and guys, we can make our own sums. When I do a test, I can think, how can I make this interesting? Sum 2. Had an inheritance of 10,000 Rand and she wants to invest it in whatever. Are you with me here? Nice bedtime story. But there is 10,000 Rand that's invested at the bank down the road by the dam, all the story that I want to add in there. But it's going to be for 4.5 years at an interest rate of, or they could have said, in 4.5 years' time I need some money and I want to invest it, make sure that it's got that money. You with me? We colour in the little message. But you've got to read 10,000 is there for 4.5 years and the interest rate is 9%. Now, like you did in rating, it's still a good idea. I showed you in the previous one as well. You don't have to do it, but it's a good idea to say, what is A? What is P?
Yeah.
What is I? What is E? Is this going to be worth marks?
No.
Most of you not here, but inside of your sum. But if here is correct and you completely fall off the wagon in the sum, then there's at least something I can give you marks for, because this is knowledge. So, if it's compounded, what will be the end amount, or how much money will she have in her account after 4.5 years, something like that? So that is my A that is unknown. And like I showed you, it can either be in the formula. I can ask you for A, I can ask you for P, then A and I and N has to be known. I can ask you for I, then N and P and A have to be known. Only this here I cannot ask you for
N
because you're going to need logs for that. Can I ask you for N in the simple interest?
Yes, we can.
That we can. Okay. So if I have P as 10,000 and my I, okay, maybe we should just finish up here. Knowing that 10,000 is my P. What was the 4.5 years? That's my N, right?
Yes. But then you have to like.
Yes. And then when I read further, 9% will normally be? 0.9, excellent. So 0.9. 90%. Just be careful of that, alright? 0.09, that should be my I, until I read compounded quarterly. So that must be divided by 4. So that will be per quarter. What's that story about?
They have
They
to
go hand in hand. If that's per quarter,
also
then
that
my N
has
has to be in
per
quarters.
quarter.
Now, do I take that and time it by 4?
Yes.
No.
Think about it logically. It's not always going to work as easy as this one. You can go for the months, you can go for the quarters and whatever. Think logically. There's 4 years. If you did it, it would work. But 4.5 years. In every year, how many quarters are there? 4, right? So for 4 years, you've got 4 times 4 is 16. And then for the half a year, there's 2 extra ones. So that's going to give you 18. 4 years, each have 4, right? 4 times 4 is 16. And the half a year, how many quarters in a half a year? So you've got 18. Are you with me, guys? Yes. So definitely, for the 18 will there be a mark for knowing that. The I we've established was 0.09 over 4, and we're looking for A. So this is what I want to teach you. Every time I'm going to get back to this. If you didn't know what the sum was about, and you just got to this piece and said, okay, what was the story about? Obviously, it's some financial maths. This was the amount that was either invested or borrowed or something. And then this, the way I'm writing it should tell you something. Focus, guys, this is essential. If you're reading it this way, because you could have said 0.09 divided by 4 is 0, what. Nothing wrong with that. I would like you to do it this way. Because when you read it here, what are you going to read? This was a quarterly. So this must be quarters. I say again, this is what I want you to have in your mind. These two go hand in hand. And if there's a 4 there at the bottom, you will know that this was a quarterly interest rate. And then those have to be the amount of quarters. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So if the child made a mistake and did this, can you see they're making a mistake like that?
Yes.
Writing the N as 4.5. If you read it, this means that it's a 9% quarterly rate. And there are 4.5
years.
quarters. Which is wrong, obviously. Are you with me? But that's what this information tells me. Which is wrong. Okay. If I didn't divide it by 4, and I did do the 18, what does this mean? This interest rate was yearly. And there were
Space.
18 years, which is wrong, obviously. To see what I want you to do when you're doing these sums. Divide by 4, 18, so quarterly, 18 quarters. I want you to all the time think of that so that you won't make mistakes. Once you've got this, give yourself a day or two, then you always have it. All that you now need to do is go to your calculator and give me an answer, please.
14,925,87.
Correctly rounded off?
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's the final answer, right? If ever we have to do some more and more and more stuff, we're not going to round off until the final answer. So, what could my question be? How much interest did this person earn?
You're going to minus.
Take this and minus 10,000, the starting amount. The interest was 4,900 something. Are you with me? Interesting things that we can ask you. Got it? Let's do another example. The other class made up this sum, not with the words and the person and the whatever, Sunshine Bank and Sondela or whatever, it doesn't matter. Borrows 4,800 Rand from Sunshine Bank at an interest rate of 11.2% per annum, compounded daily. So you've got to read the complete thing. So the interest rate is
11
compounded daily. How much will he owe after 20 months? So let's start and say A is, P is, I is, M is. Are you with me? What are they asking?
How much will you offer?
How much he will owe? So that's so the 4,800 was the beginning amount that he borrowed. Whether I borrow or whether I invest, it's going to be the same calculation. I 0,112, and you can't round off, it's exact, right? That would be per
day.
year.
Okay.
But I've got to do it per
Day.
So
Over 360.
over
Divide by
365. So that's going to be per
day.
day. Now my N has to be.
Per day.
Okay. Now this is not really syllabus. I want to tell you again, just so that we can get the feel of the stuff. Because again, there's all these things that bother me. If it's there for 20 months,
Converted to
which of those were February and which of those were June? And are you with me?
Yes.
How many days do they have? So I would say in this case, they had to say, let us estimate that every month has 30 days. Are you with me? Then everybody would be happy, because now I'm wondering. Because if you were a tax consultant, you would go and sit and see from which month to which month it was, and actually how many days each one of them had.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how many days then? I will say 20 times
360.
30, which will give me 20 months times 30 days gives me
600.
Are you with me, everybody? Do you have to show me that?
No.
No? Okay. But it might be a good idea, especially if it's difficult. Then our sum
Just like that.
is going to be the 4,800. 1 plus 0,11 over 2,2365 and the 600. Let's forget about the sum for 1 second and recap. If you look at this sum, what must you know? The amount in question is 4,800, whether it was invested or borrowed or what. The interest rate was per day. And that was the amount of days. If the child wrote 20, can you obviously see that kids are going to do that?
Yes.
This means that they were daily rate and there were only 20 days. That's what they mean. And this is the reason I don't want you to go and say, do that division by 365 and give me 0.00 whatever and write it there. Because if you do it this way, you'll always be able to check yourself. There's a daily rate, and that is the amount of days. Can you see where the marks will go? Definitely, well, most of the time it will be for the formula used. Not most of the time, this is grade 10, we would say for the formula, and then for all the substitutions, and then for the answer, which would be a 5-mark question. Most of the time, it's 3 or 4. So they give you the mark for the formula because you use the formula. So even if you don't write the formula, you still get the mark because you're using the correct one. I teach you, please write the formula. You cannot make a mistake by writing the formula. In one sum, when we're going to do timelines just now, if the sum has 3 or 4 times that you're using the same formula, you don't have to write it every time. Just like when we did analytical, and in the same sum you did the gradient 3 times. You have to write the formula every time. Same thing here. But for the first time, always write it. I think it's a better idea. Can somebody answer? Give me the answer.
5,770. 70,15.
1,5. Agree? Okay, so does it make sense, guys? Because I think yesterday in the other class, somebody read it wrong. How did I know there was a mistake?
Logic.
Logic says, 20 months. 4,800 has grown to 57,000. Maybe if that was 90% interest rate. Are you with me, guys? Always please look at your answer and look at the logic between it. Okay. Check it. Maybe you pressed something wrong way or whatever. Good. So now quickly to exercise this, and we're going to mark it just now. On page 294, exercise 1, we're going to do number C and number E. Quickly. Right, the first question says, this person wanted to have R1 million in 10 years' time. How much must he put in if the interest rate that they're giving him is, read to me, 6.8 per annum? Monthly compounded, or calculated monthly, or compounded monthly. So then, you have to make sure that they go hand in hand. So if this one is per month, then this must be in months. And 10 years is how many months? Are you with me? So in our formula, we've got 120 in the place of n. We've got our 0.0. Just make sure you don't write 0.68. 0.068. And then P is the one I'm looking for, and I'm aiming for $1 million. So look at the question again. When will I find $1 million with this? What must I put in? At an interest rate that was done monthly for 120 months. Are you seeing it? It goes hand in hand. So how would I do that something? Can I just give the answer?
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. Formula, substitution, definitely. All those values going into the substitution, most probably into the correct form is in that mark. And then an answer for P. Just like that. How?
Like dividing the whole thing by
1 million.
Divided
Divided
by
by, when I calculate it, break it a fraction, it works nicely. Fraction at the bottom, you put it in a bracket, right? Bracket 1 plus the fraction again, close the bracket up to the power 120. Are you with me here? So it's $1 million over that bracket 120. Which you don't have to write, you always want to save on some time. Calculator must be less than $1 million, or we agree. Because actually has been something less. Being there for 10 years at some time, 6% maybe wasn't so great, but okay, give me an answer.
507,000. What? 590. 590.
590, please.
590,34.
Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
So you almost double his money. 500,000, $500,000. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
10 years. Okay, let's look at number E, where they are comparing Tabo and Patrick that are investing money. The one is investing at simple interest, and the other one is at compound interest. Read the question clearly. They are both investing at 8,000, and they want to know who gets the most money. Okay? Now, if they were both 7% and 7%, who would have gotten the most money?
Compound.
Compound. Are you with me? But because the interest rates are not the same, you can't just say that. If they were the same, you could have said it. Has to be. Alright, so for simple interest then, I'm trying to find out how much money it is for both of them and which one has the most. So simple interest, substitute in the 8,000 rand 1 plus 0.07. Nothing about monthly, quarterly ever in simple interest, because that is compounded interest. Okay, and sorry, and the end was 8. Answer please.
12,000.
12, 1, 2, 4, 8, 0 on the dot. Okay, this one. So again, the 8,000. Will this child get all his marks without any formula?
Yes,
That's the norm in grade 11 and 12. Can I see the formula being used? Then you get the mark for the formula as well. And an answer please.
12,000.
Ma'am, isn't it?
Oops, thank you. I was still saying we have to go do it and I never did it. Really fast. Let's go back.
Ma'am, stop the bus.
Sorry, it's going to be enormous. What does this say? This says it was biannually for
8 years.
8 half years.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Okay. Where it should have been 8 years or
16
half years. So this money wouldn't be right. Okay. So let's look at it again. Is it now correct? 8,000 was invested at a biannual or semi-annual or half yearly, and there was 16 half years in 8 years. I'm sorry. So now, did the kid lose all his marks? No, he definitely lose that 8 one day, but we can still see 8 because you're doing the maths correctly. And then maybe your answer here would have been less than that one or whatever, so that we can also see your answers, which one had the most. Okay, this one was
12,000
1, 2,
837
8,
37
6, 5. So it's this one that has the most. What does she say?
Therefore, Patrick would have the most money.
Patrick got more at the better bet, whatever the question was. Right. Let us get into timelines. It happens when there's a lot of things happening in one sum. Let's start reading and you'll see the problem we have here. Exercise 4, page 302, number B says, Sikumbuzu, I had to practice that, deposits 30,000 Rand in a bank. Leaves the money in the account for 4 years. For the first 2 years, the interest is calculated at 4.3% per annum, compounded quarterly. Normally it's not yearly, but it can be quarterly. But for the remaining 2 years, the interest is calculated at 5%. So things have changed. How much money will then be in the account after 4 years? So do you see? Lots of information. That's why we use the technique of a timeline. So we say, here's the time frame. We're putting in 30,000. And we're going to let it lie there for 4 years, right? But if that was the question, I didn't need a timeline. I say sum is what we have. The problem is, they said for the first 2 years, there was a certain interest rate, namely 4.3% compounded quarterly. So you must write here for yourself, I is 4.3%. What do I write? 4.3%. What do I write?
0.043.
Compounded quarterly.
Over 4.
So this is per.
Quarter.
So what must happen here?
Should 4
N must be
times 4.
times 4, which is 8. So that everything is in the same. You cannot have a monthly rate, but the time is in quarters. You cannot have quarters and the rate is in biannually. You've got to look at the interest rate and make sure that your N is in the same ratio as that. Okay? But then what did it change to? In the next 2 years, here after 2 years, in the next 2 years, so it's also 2 years, it changed into 5% compounded monthly. So what is I? 5%? 0.5 monthly.
12.
Divide by 12. So that is per month. It's crucial that you see the essence of this, guys, that you are all the time going quarters per quarter. N is in years, so my N has now got to be also in
Months.
months. So 2 years is?
24 months.
Have you got it? That's the basics of it all. And they love monthly for some reason, always in a matric paper. But you've got to do all of it. All right. So now, how do I do this sum? Do I add the two interest rates together and divide by 2? Or what will you have to do? You'll have to do two sums. We're going to talk about, and I will say time interval 1
And time interval 2.
and time interval 2, or whatever you'd like to call it. Right? Time interval 1, what happened? It's there. So now, what I'm trying to teach you here as well for your homework sum is if anything changes, you've got a new interval. So if I had the 30,000 Rand going in, and I said, well, okay, wait, after 1 year I need some money for new shoes, 10,000 Rand. But the interest rate stayed the same, so that didn't change. But then the interest rates changed after 2 years. And then after 3 years, I decided I've got some extra money and I'll put it back in again. So let's, after 3 years, add some money, 5,000. And now what's the end amount after 4 years? You're getting my drift here. Every time that something changes, you've got to make a new time interval. Now the rule, unspoken, is there will be a maximum of 3 things happening in a test. Because we can do this forever. In and out, and interest rate changes, and inflation comes, and they're dropping it, and whatever. But the moment something changes, and it can change at the same time. The same time that I took out the money, the interest rate could have changed as well. But the moment that something changes, you've got a new time frame. Have you got that idea? Yeah. So in this sum, that is why there were only 2 time frames. For the first time frame, it was 2 years. And why did we do a new sum? Because the interest rate changed. So for that first one, we have the 30,000. And I'm actually trying to find out what's the amount that's here. For that amount, then I'm going to go for the next 2 years at a different interest rate. There's no money coming in, but I could have said at the same time, put some money in or take some money out. And you could have done it at the same time. So 30,000, 1 plus the 0.043 over 4 to the power of, let's read it together, what's this represent? A quarterly rate with 8 quarters. Correct? 2 years, 8 quarters. Give me an answer, please. 3, 2.
679. 19.
Are we going to round off now?
No.
No. Because I never asked you what is in there after 2 years. If I did ask you after 2 years, you round off. Give me the answer, always round it off. So come as what? Sorry?
18785.
Was that exact?
Yes.
That's all the space your calculator has. But you can always do that. You don't have to write it all. Then in the next step, say I had to add some money or take some money away. Then you do it now. Add 1,000 Rand, subtract 10,000 from my shoes or whatever the case may be. Then you'll go to your next time interval and say for the next sum. And now this case, I'm not going to write the formula again. You happy with that? It's that amount, 32679. And remember, you don't touch your calculator. Don't touch it. That amount is there. All you need to do is say times width. And it's 1 plus, now it's changed into a monthly interest rate. For the last 2 years, that was 24 months. Do you read it? Monthly, 24 months. And it's that amount here, not the 30,000. Okay? And then, answer please.
44030,34.
Round it off. Because now I'm finished, that's it. How many marks for this sum? About 6 or 7. Each of the times will be for the interest rate and for the end, for the time table.
It's 48650.
Yeah. Okay, let's get the right answer.
3, 6, 1, 8,59.
Alright, let's think about it. What was the one of the answers was 4 and one of them was 4 6. 32,000 for 2 years. Interest rate only 5. Feels a little bit too much, but what would you do then? Calculate again and see if it's right. In any case, whenever you do calculations on your calculator, please don't just do it once. I know sometimes time is of the essence, but double check it so that you can get the correct answer. Especially the first one has to be right for the next one to be right. Okay, then I want you to please do for me for homework on page 302, number E. Let me help you. Number E says, Johannes opened a savings account 20 years ago. On opening the account, he immediately deposited 4,000 Rand. He added a further 10,000 Rand 10 years ago. 5 years ago, he withdrew 5,000 to contribute toward his uncle's funeral. Story between the story. Effective annual interest rate on the account is 7.2% per annum. What? No monthly, quarterly, nothing. Can it still be easy?
Yes.
Okay. The thing is here, how many time intervals do we have? 3. And they're working backwards, but that's got nothing to do with it. The time line started 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, right? And he put in 4,000. And then there was 10 years that went fast before he put in another 10,000. And then there was 5 years, so there's a 5-year difference here. Then he took out money, 5,000. And then I want to know how much money he's got there. But in all of them, the I here, the I here, the I here was exactly the same, and it wasn't even difficult because it was an annual interest rate of 7.2. So your I would be over 1 if you really want to. But it stays the same. Why can you not just go say 4 plus 10 minus 5?
Because of the interest.
Because there was a lot of interest, well, I hope a lot of interest coming here to the 4,000. You cannot just say, well, just take the amounts and subtract them and do one sum. You cannot do that because there was interest here and interest there and interest there. So time interval 1, 2, and 3. And there's not even any biannual, semi-annual, quarterly, monthly, anything like that. That's the only homework sum. Okay.